Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Marketing Guides for Small Businesses podcast. I'm Ken Tucker. Today, we're joined by Ian Cantle, Paul Barthel, and virtually by Jeff Steck, who is, floating in front of an ocean today. So anyway, what we're going to be talking about is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. And, you know, I'm sure, Ian, your head's probably about to explode because we're kind of skipping the strategy piece, but we're assuming that good strategy work has already been done. And so what we wanted to do is just kind of talk through some scenarios about how you package marketing solutions to get the amplification effect that we talk about so often on this show. So we're going to hit several different types of businesses and really look at a multi-channel set of campaigns that integrate well with each other to support the different types of businesses that we're going to go through. So today we're going to start with Paul. And Paul, I would like for you to kind of talk about, what would you do for a service area business like a home remodeler or a painter?
Well, okay, so first of all, the first discussion you have to have with a client is their budget, what their budget is, because and we'll probably might talk about this a little later, but if your budget is, if you only have a few $100s a month to spend, Google Ads is probably not the right platform for you because Google is doing their best to screw over small businesses. But optimize your small business listing. You need reviews. Make sure your service area details are filled out correctly. Upload photos and respond to reviews. That's one thing that we see consistently that no one ever does. They never respond to reviews, or they rarely respond to reviews. And Google does look at that. So you need to do that. Next door ads. I don't know. Has anyone seen a lot of success with them? I mean, it's definitely something to try, but I don't know that we've ever seen a lot of success with next door ads.
Well, I know we haven't seen success with next door ads, but it's an intriguing platform for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But video ads, we've talked about this in past podcasts. Video ads or video is huge, and even if you don't want to be on video, there are ways around that. But video ads can definitely help with visibility, and social media before and after photo gallery pics. I think social media, it really depends on the industry you're in. Like, Facebook is going to work good for lifestyle type businesses. If you're an accountant, I don't know how much Facebook is going to help you. You should still have a presence there, but
we're not talking about accountants. We're talking about home remodelers and painters.
Right. And Pinterest. If you're a home remodeler, if you're a painter, Pinterest might be a platform that you want to be on.
Yeah, when we talk about optimizing your Google business profile, what importance do you put on doing regular Google posts and also doing the questions and answers feature that the Google Business Profile gives you?
Well, I think Q&As are important, definitely. The post. It is important. It's very important, but Google has kind of changed it. It used to be that your posts were there for 7 days, and Google said you should be doing 2 or 3 posts a week. Now they stay there for about 6 months. You should still post regularly, at least once a week, maybe twice a week, probably twice a week. But the posts do stay there longer. It's not like it used to be where your post is gone in 7 days. It's not really gone. They just didn't show it anymore. Now it's like I said, it's about 6 months
Yeah.
that those posts will stay up there.
Yeah. And I love, that you talk about, the before and after pictures and or videos. Those are so important. I mean, it gives you great content for your website in a way that you could package it and describe the work that you did and the transformation. I mean, because ultimately, you know, these two businesses, home remodelers and painters, I mean, they're in the business of transforming the way a house looks or feels or the livability of the house. And so that transformation is going to be best captured ultimately in pictures and videos. You got to give words to it to help, rank on Google, because Google needs the words for content to rank. And obviously, I mean, this isn't a comprehensive set of tactics. I mean, we all, it like you said, it depends on your budget. And what I like about what you talked about is you picked a couple of traffic sources where you're paying to get traffic. This is probably a scenario where, there's a smaller budget. The SEO is going to be driven around building up the Google business profile ranking, probably focusing on a 3 to 5 mile radius around where the business is located. With what you've talked about so far. Anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, one other thing, when you do a Google business post, you should always link back to your website, and I don't mean the home page. If let's say you're doing a before and after post on Google business profile, you should have content on your website that speaks directly to that, and you should link back to that content. And that gives Google another signal that, hey, this is content that is important. This is what we do. And just posting, that's good, but it's really not enough. You need to link back to something relevant on your website. Because I see this a lot with Google business profile posts. People will put a post up there, and then they'll just link back to the homepage. And I guess that's better than not linking back to your website, but linking back to relevant content is going to help you a lot more.
Yeah. You can do promotions and special offers too, right? With Google posts.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that makes sense to do. And then the last thing, which I think, is something that you should look at in conjunction with this that you didn't mention. I'd love your thoughts on it, Art. Just getting other key business directory listings synced up. Is that still important?
Yeah, it is, because it's important from a trust standpoint in Google's eyes. We did a podcast a few weeks ago about EEAT, expertise, authority. Trust. So yeah, and the most important thing there is trust, and having your directory listings be consistent goes a long way towards trust in the Google ecosystem.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, part of what we're also trying to accomplish with this episode is just to, kind of talk about maybe some tools that we don't talk about a lot, or some techniques or tactics that you can plug into an omni-channel approach. So again, these are not vetted. These are not crafted by hardcore strategy work. These are just kind of brainstorms to just kind of give people an idea of, what you could put together, but really just to hammer home the importance of omni-channel integrated omni-channel marketing. So next, I asked Jeff about emergency services, home services, like emergency plumbing services, water damage restoration, things like that. Here's what he had to say.
Okay, so let's talk now about emergency home services. So if you think of the kinds of problems homeowners are likely to have that they need emergency service on, we're talking about, things that you might imagine: a plumbing emergency, a clogged drain, water leak, Water damage restoration, if they've had a bad storm, if the carpets are soaked and they need them dried out fast, they don't want mold to start growing. And if mold has started growing, they need mold remediation. And I would also throw HVAC contractors into that category. If the HVAC goes out in the middle of the summer, it's a big problem, and you don't want to wait a week in 100-degree temperatures to get that fixed. So typically, if you look at the buyer behavior, the people are looking for quick solutions. They're looking for resources right away. They're probably doing Google searches. That's probably their starting point, whether it's on their phone, whether it's on their desktop. Google searches are going to be paramount. So, of course, the quickest way to show up in search rankings for Google is ads, paid ads. So we're talking about keyword-driven search. So things like emergency plumber in Austin or water damage restoration near me, those are what people are looking for. So you want to make sure that you buy those keywords and get an ad showing if you're not doing well for SEO. And even if you are doing well for SEO and showing up organically for those keywords, you still might want to buy that just to have extra coverage on the page and get extra notice. So that's the first place to start, Google search with ads and for sure some SEO. Then when people get to your website, you want 24/7 contact information. You want to give them a path to get a hold of you quickly, get a response quickly. And especially after hours, that probably means an AI chatbot on your website answering their questions. It probably means an emergency contact form in a way to get notification to somebody who can get back to them. Yeah, that probably does mean somebody's got to be on call. It doesn't do any good to say, I've got 24/7 contact information. Thank you very much. It's midnight. Somebody will get back to you at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's probably not going to fly because your competitor that does have true 24/7 response is going to get the business. So you need to think about how are you going to allow people to connect with you and how are you going to get back to them? So that means some kind of automations, as I said, with chatbots, with emergency contact phone numbers, probably a missed call text back, reassuring people that you're going to get back to them right away, and then make sure you've got the mechanism to do that. You may want to look at doing some remarketing ads, and specifically online. Again, think about the buyer behavior. If somebody's looking for an emergency service, they go do some searches, they find a couple of possibilities. They may also be going to, Facebook and looking to see who their friends have used or, who in the neighborhood puts on a good presence. So if they're going to go online, if they're going to bounce around and look for different options, then having retargeting ads, remarketing ads showing up is going to help your case too. It's going to help you get more visibility and then potentially more business from that. And then again, the big customer review sites can play an important role. So again, buyer behavior. People are looking for that help. They've got a couple of possibilities. They've gone online. They've looked for recommendations. Now they're maybe going to look at Yelp or Home Advisor or Angie's List or even your Google Business Profile. They're going to check up on you. They're going to narrow that short list down, and they're going to figure out who to call. And this is all going to happen in a very short amount of time. Again, if my air conditioning's out and it's 100 degrees, I'm not going to take an hour, even an hour, it may be minutes, but I'm not going to take days by any means to do research. I'm going to figure it out pretty quickly. But the more coverage you can have on the more channels, and again, working together, your website is dropping a cookie in the browser. The cookie Facebook pixel is used to do remarketing ads. You've got the chat bots. You've got the missed call text back now, getting back to people. All of these things working together, that's your multi-channel approach to getting the business in.
Okay. So, I mean, again, obviously, this is just a brainstorm. I'm going to keep mentioning this throughout the podcast, but, again, a really nice set of solutions and some key points that sadly, way too many businesses don't have their phone number prominently displayed on their website. It doesn't scroll as somebody might scroll down the website. The navigation, the top navigation may not be sticky and stay at the top. You're missing opportunities if your business is related to emergency services. It's all about people contacting you and getting an immediate response. So you got to eliminate any barriers that are out there. Paul, Ian, any thoughts from you guys on this?
One of the things I think that is so important is Google local service ads. I don't think he mentioned that. Google local service ads are radically different. They're basically a different platform than how you manage your other Google ads, but they show up in the listings. They're highlighted at the top. You only pay for the leads you get. You don't pay per impression or per click like you do with some of the other ad platforms, including Google search ads. But those, for a lot of emergency type services, those are really important. But I would re-emphasize, since we're talking multi-channel, that to actually win at the game, you should, if you have the budget, because the ROI will prove this out to you. If you pay for local service ads, if you pay for search ads, Google search ads, if you optimize your Google business profile so you show up high in the maps as well as those ads, you show up in the regular ads, and you do great SEO optimization, like you're just hitting people. If they say that it used to be 7 impressions, it took 7 impressions for someone to make a buying decision. It's now, the stats are all over the place, but it's at least 12, 15, sometimes 30, depending who you listen to.
Right.
But the point is, the more impressions you as a business can make on someone, the higher the opportunity that they will actually click the button, research you, and call you or have you call them back. So if you can own all of the Google search results, your chances of winning are far higher. And the stats show it, prove it out if you dig into the stats for Google stuff.
Yeah. And when you say Google search results, I mean, you're including the different ad platforms, the maps, and organic listings.
Everything. own the Google search results.
Yeah.
When you type in emergency plumber, you want to show up on everything.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
yeah.
Paul, any other thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Ian, we're going to shift to you now. Let's talk about professional services. In this case, I was thinking of, predominantly like accountants or attorneys, folks like that. Talk about how you would put together an omnichannel or multi-channel approach for them.
Sure. Yeah, there's going to be some consistency in what we talk about today because, for a lot of businesses, it just proves beneficial regardless of the type of business you're in. But since I'm talking about professional services, accountants, attorneys, lawyers, Paul talked about Google Business Profile optimization. You have to be there. You have to have that optimized to the hilt. You have to be generating more and more, turning great satisfied customers and clients into great online reviews, right? And responding to those reviews. It all helps you show up better. Search engine optimization, for professionals, if they're ignoring this, huge opportunity lost. So this is just low hanging fruit. Everybody should be doing this. Google search ads for professionals, they work as well. Because again, even if somebody is referred to you, the chances are they're going to Google you anyways. So, you want to own the search results as much as possible. So show up in the search ads, especially like you can, the nice thing about ads is if you're really busy, you can pull them back a little bit budget wise. If it's getting into tax season and you're feeling lean, crank out those ads, right? Like you can't do that with organic type strategies.
Right.
So ads give you a little bit of power that way to control things. LinkedIn ads, and I say this with a caveat because quite frankly, we have not had dramatic success with LinkedIn ads. It seems like it should be a slam dunk. So I'm really interested to hear if you guys have had some success, but we've tried LinkedIn ads for our own business, for some of the professionals we serve. It seems like a slam dunk. You can target by industry, job title, decision making, authority, like you name it, interests. It feels like strategically it should work. Mathematically, it just hasn't worked for our clients. But I put it out there because with the type of targeting, and it's unique targeting that is very unique to LinkedIn because of the type of platform it is, it should work. So I always recommend to clients, like, don't just because you have a preconceived idea, and even the reason I say that you should look at it is because I haven't given up on LinkedIn. Because one of the premises of good strategic marketing is to test and optimize, right? And so one of the tests, if you've already done some of the other tactics for your business, try LinkedIn ads, but do it well. Like, give it a good test. Don't just throw some money at it and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
Was Paul going to jump in there?
No.
No.
Okay. I think LinkedIn. I think they do have all this targeting you talked about, and I think that has kind of become their own worst enemy, because it's almost as if it's turned into nothing but a spam and sales platform.
Right.
Because of the targeting. And like you said, it does have all these targeting, and it should work. But I think it has become a platform that people just abuse because of those targeting options. That's
right.
my opinion.
Yeah, we talked about a couple of weeks ago too, I think, that LinkedIn ads are really expensive. And in order to get the coverage that LinkedIn recommends that you do from your ad campaigns, they're demanding very large budgets. And sometimes that just doesn't align well with a service area or a natural area where you're going to draw your clientele from.
Yeah. Yeah. And one comment about LinkedIn, like, the more you can tighten your focus. So, a lot of business owners, and this is true of professionals as well, think dentists, right? Everybody has teeth. Everybody needs their services. Yes, but from a pure advertising standpoint,
I've seen some people without teeth.
Well, that's true. But they could use dentures, so maybe. But it's far easier to get high ROI or higher ROI by tightening your focus and targeting, like, say you're a pediatric dentist, only targeting parents of young children. That is so much easier and more cost effective than trying to do a shotgun approach to everybody with teeth, right? As an example, and this isn't just LinkedIn ads, this is any type of advertising for professionals. As an example, if you're an accountant, yes, maybe you can do personal taxes for everybody, but for a lot of accountants, they kind of choose one side, right? Like, we're either serving individuals and families, or we're serving businesses, and you need to target appropriately, right? Yeah. And if you go too broad, it's to your detriment. I did want to mention content marketing, right? Like, as a professional, you have a strong point of view. You should be sharing that point of view consistently in blog posts, sharing those blog posts on social. When you create consistent content, and blog posts are kind of the easiest, most natural way to do that, because it's content on your website. It helps your SEO. It provides you with shareable content for social media. It's shareable content for your email marketing to stay top of mind with the contacts that you have in your database. So it's very, very powerful. And then that leads into email marketing. If you're not email marketing to both prospects, customers, contacts, you should be. It is absolutely one of the highest return on investment activities you can do as a business, but do it well. Be a welcome guest, not a pest, right? And then we've already talked about websites, but all of these things, like, I don't think there's, I can't think of one. There's very few marketing strategies that any business will do today that doesn't lead people to your website. Like, even referral marketing leads people to your website. People who are referred to you, whether they check out reviews online, whether they talk to a family or colleague member, they're going to come to your website. They will investigate you, because we are all researchers as businesses and as consumers. So make sure you target your website appropriately to your ideal clients you're trying to attract. As an accountant, as a attorney, a lawyer, clearly communicate what your value proposition is and what sets you apart from the competition. I think that's so important. But those are just a few probably long-winded, top-of-mind things.
Yeah, a couple of things I'd like to kind of touch base on is with both accountants and attorneys, I found historically a lot of concern and resistance about asking people to write reviews for them. And it's like, nobody's. I mean, you may be lucky where the people who've written reviews for you have all just been 5-star. That's the exception rather than the norm. We've talked about this before. Negative reviews aren't necessarily the worst thing. Obviously, you've got to maintain a threshold of a certain, I think 4.0 or higher Google rating is extremely important. But a lot of people in these spaces, they think, okay, well, if they have a bad tax year, they're going to write a bad review about my accounting service that I did for them. And it's like, well, if they don't have confidence that you didn't get them the best possible return and the best outcome, yeah, maybe. But if they feel that, yeah, it sucks that I have to pay a bunch of extra taxes that I wasn't planning on, but I know my accountant did the best job to kind of keep that as in check or help me pay off, my tax, throughout the year so that it wasn't a massive burden, then they're going to write a good review for you. So, I mean, it's just crazy. Reviews are so critical.
Yeah. And the truth is, Ken, that statistics show that people are more likely to unsolicited leave you a bad review than a good review.
Right.
And so the fact that you're not, and don't think solicitation, because that's a bad term in a lot of people's minds. But if you don't ask for reviews, the chances are more bad people will leave a negative review than good people. So you owe it ultimately, not just to your business, but to the future prospective customers that you can serve better than your competition, hopefully. Yeah. You owe it to them to try to get as many great stories that will help people make a good choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or you don't get any reviews, which also speaks volumes.
Yeah.
The other thing that I wanted to kind of hit up on is you talked about content marketing. And again, this is, professional services seem to me where there's a proliferation of syndicated content onto their websites that does them no good, but it makes them think that they're helping themselves with SEO. But it's not unique content. It's syndicated to dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of other attorneys or accountants or whatever, whatever niche you're in, because it's not unique content. So Google just ignores it. And so you're paying for a service thinking, hey, everything's great. I'm really helping with my SEO here. You're not. And this is a professional services seems to me to be an area where they've been victimized by, people who, the content may be fantastic and there may be value in getting that content and putting it on your website. But if you're trying to do it to rank, it ain't happening.
Here's an interesting story that we had with a CPA, so a chartered professional accountant. Which is kind of the highest level, at least in Canada, of accounting that you can get, right? Like these guys are highly educated. They know what they're doing. When we pitched them on their strategy and then ultimately on their website, they were hesitant about even going down that path because they were like, man, we gotta write all this content. We're like, no, that's included. We're the content experts. We just need to download your point of view from you and your team, and then we will write it and strategically create it. And then you just have to look at it and review it. And, your feedback will be vital. But they were, first of all, astounded by that. But then going back to that content engine, no accountant, no attorney, no dentist, anybody that's in that professional world, the whole point of them doing marketing is so that they don't have to do anything but the work they love doing and that they, studied for, right, and to grow their business. And none of them, for the most part, have time to write blog posts, right? So hire a professional. Not only will they create great content for you, it will be your point of view because good agencies will download it. They'll take your feedback. They'll optimize the process of creating content. And it will be fantastic. And it's not duplicate content like what you were talking about, Ken. But it's hard. It's hard to get past that for some professionals.
Yeah, and for professionals, there's a real tendency to write technobabble,
Yeah.
where it means a lot to them, but to the target audience that they're trying to reach, it may be basically just gibberish. And so, that's where working with professional writers, first it frees up your time, so that you can go uniquely do what you need to do to make money in your business. And second of all, a good writer knows how to write to a specific audience. So,
Yeah,
all right.
another quick story. Like we this is a different CPA. This is actually a certified professional accountant out of the US, where they felt their unique point of view was so unique that nobody else could write it, and it kept them stuck in the. We were just doing a website for them, but they got really stuck because they couldn't think. So the whole purpose of your website, people, is not for you. It's for the people you're trying to attract. And that was the biggest thing. We had to get them to switch their perception,
Yeah.
because if they only thought about it as, this is me, this is a representation of me, and I have to say all these big words and fancy stuff because I'm so highly educated, it doesn't matter. Like, there's other opportunities. You can do a peer presentation, where
Right.
you can use lots of big words because it's to your peers. But for consumers, for customers, business, think about the target audience. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. All right, Paul. I tried to get this question to you, Ian, but I just couldn't get it to fit on the schedule. So I know you've got a lot to share on this. So jump in as appropriate. Paul, I want to talk to you about now what I refer to as a brick and mortar business, specifically, places of business that people go to receive, service. For example, medical spas or med spas, dentists, chiropractors, places like that. So, talk about what a good omni-channel approach might be for them.
Yeah, sure. Well, search ads, obviously. And the one thing that I will say, two things on that is that, and I was talking to someone else about this, is that you have to have a decent budget to really get a return on investment. If you only have a few $100s, you can really narrow it down to one zip code, one service, and you might get something. You might get a return on that. But what I started to notice,
and Google's always happy to take your money, right, Paul? Regardless of
you're always limited by budget. Even if you're spending $10,000 a month, you're limited by budget.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed, I was talking to someone else about this, is if you're not spending a couple $1,000s a month on ad spend, your return isn't going to be great. I mean, you'll get something, but that's kind of been what we've been seeing lately. But your keywords are important, okay? So like things like dentist near me, med spa near me, whatever it is. And you can put the city in there, and I usually do, but that's kind of going to be taken care of with your location targeting anyway. Your ads are going to show you're going to tell Google, this is where I want my ads to show. Because one thing Google's been doing is they're pushing their Performance Max campaigns. And Ian, I'm sure you've seen this. That's every time there's a recommendation, run Performance Max campaigns. And
why are they promoting those, Paul?
Because it costs you a fortune.
And it's all automated, right? Like
it's almost largely automated. And what that is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a combination of search, display, and video ads. And those are all good things, but you might want to keep those separate. And even Google will tell you, if you change something in a Performance Max campaign, you have to wait a month for the algorithm to adapt before you start tweaking things. So, and I touched on display ads, which those are, image ads, and Google isn't the only platform. There's other ones out there, but they're usually more of an awareness kind of thing. getting your name out there, staying top of mind. And they have some pretty good targeting options. You can target websites where, I know we're talking about brick and mortar here, but if you're a med spa, you can target websites, if they allow ads, websites that people that go to med spas might go to, and your ads will show to them. And then obviously you have your social media, Facebook, Instagram. We talked about LinkedIn. And with any of these ads, and this is one thing we've noticed as well, is no one ever wants to have an offer. You've got to have an offer, because if you don't have some kind of offer and your competitor does, you've just lost that opportunity, more than likely, unless they have some compelling reason to click on your ad without an offer when your competitor has an ad with an offer. So, but one thing you can do is and you can put images in your search ads on Google as well as display ads. But with social media, you can put images in there. They have, I don't really do Facebook advertising, I don't create Facebook ads, but do they still have like the carousel kind of things?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So that's something you can do with social media that you can't do with Google necessarily. And Yelp ads, do not discount Yelp ads. What I would say is work with a Yelp partner. If you go to Yelp, because Yelp has created a bad reputation for themselves in the past. And we've had people that work directly with Yelp. They're like, and some of they're just, you mention Yelp to them and they just get downright pissed. They're like, I'll never spend another fill in the blank penny with them because they were just aggressive. But if you work and irritating and annoying and obnoxious and intrusive,
And they burned companies.
yes, they did. But if you work with a Yelp partner, you don't have to deal with Yelp, and that Yelp partner has a Yelp representative that they're working directly with, so you can mitigate a lot of those issues. And, one thing I was going to touch on, Ian, you were talking about email marketing, and you said do it right. Would you say be a welcome guest, not a pest? A while back, I bought it, and this is what not to do. I bought a chainsaw from Home Depot.
Nice. Yeah.
And they, for the next 2 weeks, they were sending me email, which I unsubscribed from their email list, but they sent me emails about, oh, hey, we found these chainsaws for you. How many freaking chainsaws do you think I need? So, don't do that. But anyway, that's kind of what I have on the different platforms. I don't know. Did I miss anything?
Well, obviously, as Ian, I think you mentioned before, Google Business Profile is huge. I mean, 60 to 70% of all clicks or phone calls happen to those three businesses that show up on the Google Maps results. And interestingly enough, Google is experimenting of adding up to 5 people now on the Google Maps in a few markets. It's an experiment. Right now, you still have to assume that it's going to remain 3 because they test this stuff periodically. You got to be one of those top 3. So, that's going to pertain to any one of these scenarios. I'll just say that categorically. Your Google Business Profile is just incredibly important. One of the points that I want to make is, with social media ads, with med spas and dentists, and Ian, you might be able to speak to this even, with more authority, but because it's talking about beauty and has a potential of maybe making somebody feel intimidated or, I don't know the right phrase, because everybody wants to show beauty. Nobody wants to look at, picture of a mouth of, really crooked, ugly teeth or rotten teeth or stuff like that. So, when you're running these ads, just know that you're going to get challenged very frequently on the ads that you're running. And it's a difficult difficult set of niches to run ads in, I think.
Yeah,
especially
and
on
it's not,
Facebook, because they'll disapprove your ad because if they think it might make someone feel bad, and this is not a joke, I'm not being sarcastic, that they will disapprove your ad.
And
yeah,
Google's
like
starting to do that too.
Yeah, they are.
you'll notice that most med spa, most dentists, most any kind of treatment that's aesthetic in nature, orthodontists, right, where you're going from a before to an after, like you were talking about with remodeling, right? Like it's really hard to do those. So most of them have been very much sterilized from an ad standpoint, where you'll see that most ads are about the practice, are about here's a photo of our team, even. And this isn't just the visuals, it's the words. Like you can get disapproved very easily if you,
Right.
again, it's see, advertising, as most people know, is aspirational, right? If you're targeting people in their 80s, you're probably showing pictures of people in their 60s, right? Because people are young at heart and they don't view themselves as old. And the same is true with like your teeth. If you're thinking about getting veneers on your teeth because your wedding's coming up, you don't want to see a picture of a person with crooked teeth or gaps or teeth that aren't perfect. You want to be aspirationally driven, but that's where kind of the politically correctness, I don't know how else to say it,
Yeah, it's
especially on the
concerns
Facebook.
over discrimination.
Yeah, it's concerns over discrimination, but it's almost like the pendulum swung so far that it gets a little bit ridiculous, in that you can't even show people with nice teeth without Facebook saying, well, you might make some people feel bad about their teeth. Well,
Yeah.
So you have to find the exact center medium of somebody with not too crooked, not too straight. Like it's a funny world.
Yeah.
On the digital advertising side. But one thing I would add, I think Paul, you've covered it really well. Of course, all of the things we've already talked about with organic search and everything like that are very relevant for these guys. But I would even say like direct mail is super important for dentists, for med spas. Like you have a very tight geographic area usually that you're targeting.
Yeah.
Like the town I live in, we have 23 dentists, orthodontists, right? That's a lot for a 40,000 population area. And so one of the ways to get in front of people is direct mail. And it kind of died a little bit during COVID, but it's back in full force. And the one thing I would say, though, the mistake I see 99% of dentists, med spas, all of these guys doing is that they send out the thing without an offer sometimes. Oftentimes there's an offer, but sometimes without an offer. Big no-no. And the call to action isn't digitally connected, meaning they don't use a call tracking number so they can say, oh, this is the number of calls we got through this postcard. And they don't use like a specific link or a QR code, right? And like often the QR codes just send you to their homepage without any kind of tracking. How, as a business, are you ever going to know what's working? Like you're just throwing money at something, hoping it sticks, hoping that your sales rise and that inquiries rise, but you actually don't know. It's just a feeling, and that's a bad way to invest in your marketing.
Yeah. So one of the things that Paul, you mentioned that you got to have an offer, especially if you've got competitors that are running offers. I think it's important to note, having the word free in your Google ad or Facebook ad dramatically increases conversion. And it could be free consultation. It doesn't have to be a discount, but having that word is critical. Now, on the flip side, if you put the word free in email, you're probably going to have that
in the subject line.
Yeah, then you're going to run into trouble getting that email delivered.
Right.
So that's why, again, it behooves businesses to work with marketing professionals who know these nuances, where free works and where you can't use the word free, and how the different platforms react to that. So, but again, I mean, there's pretty solid data that just having the word free in your Google ads dramatically increases the click-through rate. So the next type of business that I I asked Jeff to talk about restaurants. So let's see what he talked about here. And he's got a long answer. So we may clip this.
Now let's talk about brick and mortar businesses such as restaurants. And I would throw some retail into this category as well. We're going to talk about the platforms you want to be on. And again, multi-channel approach, how everything kind of integrates together. So social ads can be very powerful. You can run targeted social media ads. And again, we're talking about ads now, not posts, but you can promote special offers, new menu items, happy hour deals. You can target geographically down at the zip codes. You don't need to target an entire city or an entire state. You can work close to your location. You're probably going to be on Facebook or Instagram. You can use the ads both to bring people back if you have an established audience base that you're advertising to, or if you have a lookalike audience or at least a target demographic, then you can use those platforms to grow your base as well. Content marketing can be good. So we're talking here about organic social media and also organic content on your website. But especially on social media, now we're talking about the posts side of social media, not the ad side, but the post side. So it's a little different. The ad side, of course, can be all offer and sales oriented. The post side should maybe be 10% salesy, and the rest of it should be establishing rapport, growing, building relationships, looking for engagement, looking to grow your audience through organic engagement, which means you've got to give them information of interest. You've got to show them what's going on behind the scenes at your operation. You've got to get them let them get to know you, I should say, on who you are and what you stand for and who the people that work for you are and why you're a great bunch of people that they want to come visit. So you can establish your expertise by publishing informative articles, informative posts on relevant topics. Again, we're trying to build trust and establish thought leadership here. Display ads can be really cool. Display ads are graphically oriented and they have some different targeting options than typical search ads or even regular social media ads. They can be sent out what we call programmatically. So you have a lot of control over the parameters that you use to target the ads. And one of the really cool ones is geofencing. I think we've talked about that before. But geofencing is drawing an electronic fence, if you will, around an area, and then people that are in or pass through, that's a key, that geofenced area are then potential targets for your ads either at that time or later. So how might a restaurant use that? Well, let's say you're an Italian restaurant. You're looking for people that like Italian food. So let's say you geofenced all of your competitor Italian restaurants near you. And then anybody that eats at them can then at a later time see ads from you. So you know they like Italian food. So now you start showing them ads and offering them a free app or a discount on their first visit, some reason to come in and see you. And boom, you're growing your audience. You're growing your customer base. Email marketing and text, I would kind of lump these together in the way they're used, but they are different channels. But if you can build your email list, if you can get people on your text-based marketing list, now you can drip content on them. You can send out regular updates of what's going on at your business. You can send them offers. You can send them specials. You can let them know about new menu items or new products in the store. And then you also, based on how they joined your email list, or how they got into your text funnel, you can then target your ads for them. For instance, if you have different buttons on your website to opt in to get a discount coupon, if they opt in on the button in the dessert section of your menu, then you can send them a coupon for a dessert. If they opt in on the appetizer section, you can send them a coupon for an appetizer. So you can segment your list based on their interests. Same thing with products in retail if they're joining your list. So you can target your promotions based on what you've learned about your customer audience. You can also send regular information to those people with general interest, or specific sections even of the email could be targeting their interests. And the same thing with text marketing, just a little different form. You're not going to be as long form, but you can still send targeted text out based on their interest. But text messages have the added benefit, while you can't be as lengthy or as descriptive in them, you can get a much higher delivery rate. Email delivery is getting tougher and tougher. They do go through. It does still work. However, text messages, when's the last time you got a text message that you didn't at least glance at? They're short. They can get attention quickly, especially if they have a headline like, free appetizer. This Friday only, kind of create a little urgency, create a little special aspect of it, and use that text to bring people into your establishment. You can also send weekly texts with just general offers of, again, new menu items or kind of what's going on in the business. Come see us, limited time promotions. Then review management. Review management becomes important because you want to clearly communicate your services and how they benefit clients. You want to ensure that your clients have a positive user experience, and you want to build your reviews so that when people are out looking for what you're doing, what kind of food you're selling, what kind of products you're selling in your store, people will see the reviews about your food, about your service, and it will make them more likely to want to come see you. Now, here's a tip on reviews. You need to engage with people who leave you reviews. They leave you positive reviews. Thank them for their reviews. If they leave a negative one, don't be argumentative. Just say, hey, we're sorry this happened. Contact us. We'd like to fix it. And then once they do, then ask them to leave a follow-up or change the review. Just don't argue with them. No, you're wrong, because that does never end well.
Okay. One other thing that I know Jeff talked about, and just for brevity, because I want to make sure we leave time for you for your last question, Ian. Yelp ads and just the paid tools that Yelp gives you for restaurants. That's what 90% of people probably think Yelp is really all about, is restaurants. That's not the case, but restaurants are a heavily used type of business in the Yelp platform. So definitely take advantage of that. And again, as Paul said, work with a partner. Don't deal with the obnoxious direct Yelp salespeople. The partners are going to give you a lot of good benefits and extra insights, and probably even some extra ad spend. One thing that I wanted to talk about too with text marketing, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ian, for your last question. Most people, when they do text marketing, they feel compelled to send out texts to get people to try bizarre stuff. It's like, hey, we just created a mango pickle mushroom pizza. Come in and try it. It's like, no, people, you need to focus on the bread and butter things that people know about you, that you've built your reputation on. That's what's going to get people in the door. The whole point of text marketing is to get people to come in more frequently and buy more often. And sometimes when they buy, they spend more than they normally would. And, you're missing the boat if you're using texts to promote these bizarre things. So anyway,
if I can just add to that real quick, Ken, the ones that I've seen work really, really well are when the business owner of a restaurant knows precisely which days they're the weakest at.
Right.
And they do promotions for those days, even for like the regular items you're talking about, or you get a free appetizer with something, right? So you're not actually discounting, you're giving bonus.
Right.
I think that is a tremendously strong approach, because if you can boost your weaker days, that is in fact a bigger win than boosting your busiest days, right? So
that's right. And what's great about text marketing is if you've built a really good text marketing list, if you need to step on the gas pedal, it's Friday afternoon and you're normally busy and full up by that time of the day, and you're not, you can do a text message to your list and say, hey, for the next 10 people, or if you can get here before 5 o'clock, here's a special we're running, and so you don't want to abuse that, because you need to be very respectful of the number of texts that you send overall. But it's got such a high delivery and read rate that it's the best way to step on the gas.
A little bit different. One thing I think that should be added to restaurants, and I don't work with a lot of restaurants, so this is more observational and strategic thinking, but please, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see the power of user-generated content as such a high value thing not just for like if somebody will take a picture of the food they're eating, like you do, Ken, you travel fairly often, you eat out while you're traveling, you take a picture of it, you share it, and you talk about the restaurant you're at, right? And it's not super detailed. It's just boom, here's what, here's this awesome looking food I'm eating. A lot of people do that.
I'm eating this and you're not.
Exactly. That's how it feels. So I'm at home eating a sandwich. Ken's having barbecue, Texas barbecue. But what I would say is there are strategies to help motivate people to do that, whether it's a contest entry or something like that. But if you can get people to do user-generated content, if you can encourage them not to just to leave reviews, but to leave reviews with photos, man, like that's going to boost your results to a higher level.
Yeah. Great point. So, Ian, we're going to wrap up our scenarios with you. The last one that I kind of came up with was a local business that has a high volume of customers, meaning that the customer has to go back in to visit this type of a business on a fairly frequent basis. And so I was thinking like auto repair, like getting oil changes or tire rotations or things like that. And we're kind of running up on time, and I know you and I have a huge list of things that we could talk about here. Just pick 3 or 4 or 5 that you think package well together. That maybe are some things that we haven't really discussed before, or things that you see are absolutely critical.
Sure. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things to keep in mind when we're talking like high volume, what's a little bit different between HVAC and auto repair is auto repair, you're probably going to be back to the auto mechanic more often than you are for an HVAC, right? Unless they do an annual maintenance program and that kind of stuff, right? But what I would say is you have, and this is true with any business where you're trying to keep retention high, but I would say it's one of the things that are often overlooked by these types of businesses, repair and HVAC and some of the other types of businesses like that, is that every single time a person comes into your business, they're making a choice. And so don't assume that because somebody's been a customer of yours in the past, that they're going to be a customer of yours in the future. Like you have to work at providing great service. Absolutely. If you're not providing, that's a caveat that we should probably say in any of these podcasts. Like if you suck at what you do from a customer service standpoint, from a technical standpoint, no amount of marketing is going to help you. Your bucket is going to become so leaky, nothing can help, right?
Unless that's the audience that you're trying to attract.
Maybe there's a case study there, but I don't know of that one. But I would say this. So all of the things I think we've talked about are super relevant for these types of businesses, right? Like an HVAC, an auto mechanic. When somebody's searching for you, you need to be showing up in search, the maps, the reviews, right? Yelp can help you in some areas. The one thing I would probably say is, a lot of these guys don't do a lot of content marketing. They could. I've seen it where mechanics do. In fact, it's a local mechanic here. They stopped doing this, but for a while, the wife of the mechanic got very involved in the social media, and she was creating not just social posts for women to help them with mechanical issues and how to navigate an engine and car issues, but she would actually do training on like a Saturday morning where she would walk women through, here's an engine, here's how to check your oil, here's that, right? Just things that some people just have no idea what to do with. And so I thought that was a really cool thing to do. And it was very, very highly praised socially on social media. Paid search can work for these guys for sure. Start with organic, layer on paid, right? Get involved in social media. If you're not there and your competition is there, that's a big miss. The one thing I would say too on social media is as an HVAC or a mechanic, you have so much you can talk about. Don't get too technical, keep it at a high level, but there's a lot of things you can talk about. You can talk about how to set a thermostat. You can talk about, how to change a tire on a car. There's so many things you can talk about. And I think what raises the level of social media in any business, but specifically with these guys, stay professional. I'm going to say that. Stay professional. Don't lose your minds, because some businesses do that once they start hamming it up on social. But like, capture your team working professionally and share it socially. Have somebody talk about how they're serving a customer that day and what they're doing on social media. Like, there's so many things you can do that I think when you're in the business, you take for granted. And again, I often don't see social media as the lead generator in businesses, but it's a layer, right? It's a layer, it's a signal, and it's part of the omni-channel approach.
Yeah.
The one thing I think that has been missed by a lot of these types of businesses, and if it's not on their website, you already talked about clear call to action. Click here, schedule an appointment, call us now. For either of these, you want that. But even on your Google Business Profile, you can have a button now where you can click to book appointments, right? Make it easy.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Speed to response is so vital, because if somebody doesn't get a response from you quickly, if not immediately, then they're going to move on to the next person on that Google search result, right? They're going to keep going through until they get a response. So speed of response is super, super important. And capture referrals, like testimonials, and share those with people.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I think, for these businesses, transactional text marketing or email marketing works really well too, where, people are set usually on some kind of a schedule. And so an auto repair shop may know generally that the average driver drives 3,000 miles in the course of 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. And so therefore, send a reminder message. Hey, it may be time for your upcoming oil change. If you're ready to schedule, click the button and boom, they're done.
Yeah.
So just, having those automated reminders, that again, they have to align with what makes sense. If you're off by 5 or 10 weeks, they're either going to ignore it, which is not so bad, or you're going to make them mad, and then they're going to start complaining. If it's email, they may mark it as spam. Even if they did opt in, it's still tough for you to deal with that. So with that, we probably need to wrap up. We could go on and on and on. Hopefully everybody found that this was an interesting, nice little format where we talked about, some different business types and how we see a variety of different social media, digital marketing components being able to play well together and actually amplify the business results. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ian, and let you take us out.
Yeah, because amplification becomes a force
multiplier.
Well, thanks again for joining us, guys. Click like, share with all your friends, family, colleagues, enemies. Get them to watch the show, to listen to the show. We're on Spotify, iTunes, you name it. We love serving you guys. If you have questions that are burning a hole in your mind or your wallet, reach out to us. Let us know. We would be happy to cover, or at least explore, the idea of covering that topic. And until next week, folks, keep calm and mark it on.